Okay, taxes. Look, nobody actually wants to talk about taxes. However, as freelancers, it is something that we need to discuss. And I will say too that all of my experience is in the United States tax system. So if you are one of our global audience or community members, thank you for being here. This particular one, there might not be a lot to offer, but it's time right now to be thinking about taxes and pulling your tax stuff together. Yes, technically you have until April 15th to file, but as freelancers, there's a lot we need to pull together. Receipts, bank statements, all kinds of stuff. And it can take a while and it can be a little bit daunting. It's part of the reason why it's a good idea to have a separate bank account, a separate bank checking account for your business. So you can go back and be like, oh yeah, I forgot I spent it on that. And I forgot I bought that. And I forgot all this other stuff. But now is the time to go through it. Now is also the time to reach out to an accountant or a bookkeeper. TurboTax and a couple other ones I think do have self-employed versions. TurboTax is a self-employed version. Great. If that's your jam, then go for it. I personally like to be working with an accountant who can ask me questions, because that's one of the wonderful things about accountants is you send your stuff to them, you go, oh, I've got all my stuff, and then they come back with questions saying, hey, we noticed this. Was this on purpose? Or we need this form. When it comes to taxes, it is invaluable to have someone else to help you out with it. And the nice thing too is that, again, this is all based on the United States, but you can deduct the cost of your accountant or your tax preparation professional the next year. As freelancers, we should be making more than we even made on staff. So there is, I was going to say no excuse, and that's not true, because if you prefer to do your own taxes and you love using TurboTax or something like that, then great. But I think that taxes especially is one arena where it makes a lot of sense to outsource to an expert. But you need to get in touch with that expert like today, because they are already starting to put together taxes, and they probably have a deadline for when they need to receive all the forms and all the paperwork and all that kind of thing. And you should, of course, be looking for an accountant or a tax preparation professional who is well versed in working with freelancers, so they can ask you about deductions and suggest deductions that you don't even know about. And they should be, obviously, will be up on the tax code in ways that you can't be. It's not your wheelhouse. It's not your area of expertise. They will also, I should say, can help you figure out your estimated taxes, because as a freelancer, you can usually get through your first year, maybe even your second, with a slap on the wrist with not paying estimated taxes. Eventually, you will have to pay estimated taxes. And we pay estimated taxes because when you're on staff, your company, every time your company pays you, so like every 2 weeks, or every time an employer pays you, every 2 weeks or so, they also pay the government. But as freelancers, we're not paying the government every 2 weeks. But instead of the government having to wait until just April 15th to get one massive payment, we pay estimated taxes every quarter. And coming up with that estimate can be a little tricky. And the government wants that estimate to be pretty accurate, which the government has clearly never been a freelancer. But working with an accountant, they can help you come up with the estimated taxes. It can help you figure out exactly how much to pay, when, all that kind of stuff. But again, I know it's only February. We just got past Valentine's Day. Nobody wants to think about it. I know, but the reality is now is the time to do it. Now is the time to pull it together, pull all of that stuff together. If you are like me, you may benefit from blocking off some time. And I generally actually do weekends and then block off a couple hours and go through everything, print everything out, or download all the PDFs, all that kind of stuff, so that I've got it. And then I reward myself with a glass of wine. I was about to say a bottle of wine. A glass of wine. I mean, every once in a while, but a glass of wine and some chocolate or whatever, because I got through it. But put it on your calendar, otherwise it won't get done. And taxes are a necessary evil when it comes to freelancing. But the thing is that you do it and then you get it done with and you move on. And that's, again, part of why I would really strongly advise you to consider working with an accountant, someone who is well versed in working with freelancers and who can take, so that mostly you just have to like get your receipts together and you have to pay your taxes, but they take care of figuring out all of the more complicated elements. Personally, that's my preference. I'll leave that to you, but I know now's the time to start pulling all of your tax stuff together. You just got to do it. So take a page out of my book, set some time aside on a weekday or weekend if it needs be, and have some nice wine and some chocolate as a reward for afterwards, or whatever it is you do you. It's a necessary evil. It's got to be done. So put it on your schedule